Yeah, got it. Welcome to my 5th DVD in the series The Fly Fishing Academy. In this DVD I'm going to pick up from my previous one, and I'm going to talk a lot about the casting. I'm going to take out a certain amount of elements which I think is very important when you're going to present the fly. Also, I'm going to show you something about dry fly fishing, which is in a very exciting form of fishing when you're fishing for salmon. So I hope you'll enjoy this movie.
We're back at the three fantastic rivers, Bonaventure, Petite Cascapedia and Grand Cascapedia on the Gaspe Peninsula in the easternmost part of Canada's Quebec province. It was also here we shot Henrik's 4th DVD. This time we'll be fishing in 2 different periods. In the second half of June, when the large salmon have begun to migrate upstream, and in the middle of July, which marks the absolute high season for the migration of grilse and salmon. The high season enables us to try something that Henrik hasn't yet shown in this DVD series, dry fly fishing. Dry fly fishing is extremely spectacular because you can follow the fish as it begins to rise towards the fly and until it hits.
Got him.
This is particularly the case in Bonaventure, one of the world's most clear-watered rivers with an underwater visibility of more than 70 meters. With such visibility, dry fly fishing truly becomes a unique experience. Dry flies, tubes and classic double hook flies must all be presented in such a stealthy way that the fly only becomes visible to the salmon when it emerges in the actual pool. Therefore, the fly fisherman needs to choose his flies carefully, change tactics when required by the circumstances, and use the longest possible leader. Conditions along the rivers can be difficult, and the fly fisherman must be able to honor a long list of requirements on casting technique and fishing strategy in order to succeed. Under such conditions, it's vital that the angler masters the Scandinavian Spey cast if the fly is to reach the hardest points.
Ah, got him. Right under the trees. That was very good. Right under the trees. Seems like a decent fish. He's trying to use the current against me, and I can't move down from here. So I kind of have to just stop here. And it's just going to be him against me. Right here. Right now. Ah, there he went. Hell, I got the best anyway. I got the fly right under the tree and I got a take. That was the best, absolutely.
The weather's a major challenge for fishing at Grand and Petite Cascapedia and Bonaventure. It changes a lot and very dramatically. From violent rain to burning sunshine with temperatures of between 25 and 30 degrees Celsius. When the sun shines down from a cloudless sky, as is most often the case, then the combination of warm water and lots of sun directly down on the pools makes the fish very cautious. This means that the fly fisherman must change his tactics often if he's to succeed. Henrik has his favourite flies, as we'll see at a later stage in this video, but sometimes it's necessary to go new and unconventional ways when it comes to flies.
This is a pretty wide part of the Bonaventure River, and on a part like this I would like to go to the other side, as the fish will be on the other side. There's a huge gravel bar here, and it will be very good to fish from that and down towards the end of this pool. For a portion of the river like this I would use like a switch rod. The great thing about a switch rod is that you can fish both single hand and two handed. And if I take the butt off here, that means I have like an ordinary single hand rod, and I'll be using that absolutely like you will use a normal single hand rod. And then I can also, in cases if I get up some bushes, I can use my double hand. Switch rods is coming into the market, and almost all manufacturers start producing this because it is an easier tool for many people to work with. You can do the single hand and you can do the two hand rod. And right here, when I get out to that bar, I will start with a short two-handed Spey cast, and then I'll go over to a single hand as I can reach more water with the single hand. The fly for this pool, as you can see, the weather is very clear, and I have the sun coming from my front going into the back of the pool. That means the fish is going to have a very good sight of what's coming into the pool. So I want to use like a very small fly, and I call this fly a stealth fly. It has the colors of the surroundings, so it's very invisible for the fish until it gets right over them. So it's a good choice for a river like this. I've tied this in a loop, and the reason I put it in a loop is to give the fly much more freedom when it's traveling across the pool. So that means this fly is going to be much more attractive, and particularly small flies, this is way the best option to do this. Right here with a good wind, it's very obvious to do an overhead cast. It's just easier, and you'll have a way longer cast than you can do with any kind of Spey casting. And it's just an easier pick up and an easier going out. So that's where the switch rod is really beneficial. Well, sometimes when you fish through a pool like this, there's a trick you can do, try to fish a fast fly. And the way to fish a really fast fly is actually just going across on the river, right over, put the rod between your legs, and then just strip it in with your hands like that. And then you have a direct contact to the fish if he takes. Right where it should be. And on the strip, as always. I don't want to stretch him too hard because of the leader. as it is, simple leaders. I'm using right now thin leaders and small flies. But you know, when you have the fish here and you're just straight out from him, that's the best pressure you can give on the fish. Don't be above him, don't be below him. I want to get the fish over on the side. As soon as it's on the side, easy to deal with. They can be like fresh fish, can be hard to turn. It's much better up here. If he just wants to cooperate just a little bit. There we go. There we go. There we go. And he's there. Nice fresh fish. Nice silver female. Beautiful silver female. They don't get any more silver than this. It's when they come straight into the river. Well, gotta get release it again. In the Scandinavian Spey cast, we use bellies which is around 35 to 40 feet, and we use relatively long leaders up to about 20 feet sometimes. And we prefer this system here, or I prefer this system here, because I can work with a very long leader. And with a very long leader, I will be more stealthy when I'm fishing. Also with the shorter belly, it gives me opportunities to angle the line out and put the line out in many different places. And that gives me the possibility to be very close up to the terrain on both sides of the river and still get the fly out. Now to make a good lift, you got to bring the rod into your left side, and then you bring the rod around all the way up and in and go back out again. You bring the rod up to the left, and then you come over to the right, and then you go back out again. There. And you'll always have a nice D if you start on the left side of you. Not too high, come around, add the lead in the water, and go forward. There we go. This is very easy when you have a short line, but it's very important that you work on your lift. The lift is probably the most important part of your cast. If you can get your line out of the water with a good lift, then you can do a crazy forward motion, and you'll still have a straight line coming out. If I have a poor lift, for example, where I don't really get the line off the water, then it doesn't matter I have a good forward stop, because the line will collapse. If I have a lift where I kind of lift too fast and it doesn't get constant reserves behind me, then again the same thing happens. You'll have a poor forward cast. So the lift is what we have to pay attention to. Let me show you the right lift. What you want to do, you want to create like a D here, and you want the line to come around there. This is a continuous motion from when you start to you stop the rod. So that means when I start lifting this and I want to create the D, I lift a little towards my left side first, because that brings a line over here. And if I then start lifting over to the right, I will have a D coming out there and then coming forward. That gives me a perfect D on the side. And it also gives me the opportunity to plant the line somewhere else on the river, there. When you're using a two-handed rod and you want to apply power to the two-handed rod, it would be best to do it with your left hand. Because if you do it with your left hand, you'll be using the blank where it's really thick. If you're doing it with your right hand and kind of moving this forward, you'll be only using the top of the rod. So it really makes sense to use the lower hand and use the right hand like a pee-wee point, so to say. A good way to train this up, because it can be hard to train, because like many people have been casting with single hand for many years, and you know, then it's really hard to start applying the power with the left hand. So what you can do training-wise is you could actually just start lifting your two-handed rod with the right, bring the loop back, and cast with the left. So you kind of separate them. So you're using your right arm to lift the line back, but you're casting with your left arm. And in this case, when you've done this for a while, you get so tired in your right arm. So you'll only be able to use this to lift the line off and you will start casting with the left. So start really focusing on keeping that right arm in at all time, because the more you put this right arm out, the more you're going to use the top of the rod. The more you keep the right arm in and use the right hand as a PV point, cast with the left, the further you'll cast, the easier you'll cast.
Let's see how the theory is used in practice in a situation when both raise and particularly cast must be very precise due to the circumstances.
I'm at a place here where we have a pool up against the other bank, and this pool runs in under the bridge. I've seen fish right under the bridge and I've seen one below it, and I want to see if I can get hold of one of those. I'm going to use a tube fly here due to I have a good current, and it's a rather deep pool also. And I'm using the hook, so it's going to be turned upwards, and it's going to hook the fish above in its mouth, and in that way I can put a lot of pressure on the fish if needed. And it will be needed in this place here, due to I have to have the fish in on this side of the bridge, because I can't pass it. And it's all about getting the right angle on the water all the time. And I want the angle not to be too sharp or too soft again. The angle has something to do with the speed of the fly. The more angle, the faster it goes. Got him. That was perfect. Right where it should be, actually, just in front of the bridge. Nice fresh fish. Silverfish. Now the tricky part is, if he goes in under the bridge, I'm kind of screwed because I can't come down there. So I gotta keep this guy up here somehow. See if I can get him in the shallow water on the other side. See, as long as I can get the guy to go up at least little by little, then we're fine. He's probably not going to leave the pool. I'll take my chances and hope he'll come up, back up again. And you can do that if you don't put too much pressure on that situation there. If you put too much pressure on them, they'll just run like mad down. It's like a donkey system, man. He's getting there slowly, slowly. Slowly. He's getting less to fight with now when I got him on the side, which I'll have in a few minutes. Not a few minutes, but a few seconds. And we got him. We got him. There he is. There we got him. There we got him. Nice fish. Nice fresh fish. Silverfish. It's a beautiful fish. Nice fish.
Let's rewind and see what Henrik actually did to avoid the salmon disappearing downstream. A salmon will almost always try to fight the pressure you apply by swimming in the opposite direction. Here the salmon's passing downstream. Henrik accordingly reduces the pressure on the line so that a line curve forms underneath the salmon. The current puts pressure on the curve, and when the salmon goes downstream, it'll fight against the water pressure on the line curve by swimming upstream without Henrik pressuring it. Notice how Henrik can suddenly reel in a lot of line without having a fighting salmon pulling at the other end of the line. In this way, a strong salmon was lured into cooperating with the angler.
Just below me here, there's a pool called 9 Mile. And from up here I can see 2 quite good salmon in the end of the pool. I can't see the top of the pool, but if I'm going to go down here, they'll definitely see me too. So the right way to approach this pool would be going up here and then coming down by the beach and then cross the river and come in a way so they don't see me. So I come in very low and I'll try to fish this pool with a long lead and a small fly, so you kind of can fish through the pool without spooking them. Approaching this pool, I want to be as invisible as possible. I want to actually be like a ghost just coming through this pool. So that means I'm going to fish it quite fast. Another thing I want to do, I want to be very close to the surface. Because if I'm close to the surface, there's less chance for the fish to see me. If I'm staying up on the rocks here, it's very likely they'll see me because I'm standing up high. So I'll be just in the water, so I have the same level as the water. But before I start fishing this pool here, there's one thing you always have to remember: to put the fly in the water and the leader in the water to kind of break the surface on the leader so it doesn't stream over the water and spook the fish. One thing you also have to do before you fish a pool is do all the mental fishing, like prepare yourself so you know exactly what you're doing when you approach it. Particularly when the pool is like this, you know, very bad conditions, warm water, blue sky, and I would say quite a glassy pool, and there's not a good current in it. So if you prepare the mental fishing first, then you know exactly what you're doing when you get there. But at least try to hold the fish up here, because I know there's at least one bigger, I know 2 bigger fish below. So if I try to hold this fish up here, I might not spook the bigger fish below. So you can force it, because I know this is a Grilse, so I'm just going to be a little violent to it. Because you don't want that out spooking too much. So you just put the rod at the fish, because then you can just let him break off. You don't want to keep a Grilse anyway. So if he drops off, fine. If he doesn't drop off, then at least I have all the splashing in here. And that gives me the chance to get one further out. There he goes. Fantastic. And that's because I was hard to the fish. I would never play a serious fish that way. But remember, when you want to be hard to a fish, always point the rod at the fish, because then you can put a lot more pressure on it.
There are many ways of getting a salmon off the hook. Another technique is this one, but it's not entirely intentional.
That was that. Or at least there's salmon there.
In his first 4 DVDs, Henrik never demonstrated the classic dry fly fishing, but now the opportunity's here. The middle of July is the absolute high season for dry fly fishing in the 3 rivers of Petite and Grand Cascapedia and Bonaventure. In the very clear-watered rivers, it's a fantastic visual experience to fish with a dry fly. When the dry fly lands on the surface, it should be as authentic as possible.
When you cast a dry fly, it's a very good idea to open up the loop because the fly kind of drops on the floor then. If you really open up the loop, it will not slam into the surface, but it will drop down. So, and that's the way they really like it to be presented. But if you try to cast with a tight loop, it will smash on the surface. So therefore, in the final cast, open up the loop and it drops down. Got him. It's a minor Grilse, but the presentation worked. That's the main thing. It's always fun to get the fish though. Fun to see them come up, you know, how they slide out of the water and take it. So now it's okay to lose the fish. If not, you just have to pick him off. So I want to hold the rod up here because this guy is, there's a lot of rocks in the bottom here. So you can destroy the leader then, but most of the rocks here is round, so that won't really hurt the leader. You just need to get him off. There he comes in, a nice Grilse. Not quite done yet. Get him in here. Over here now, help you off the hook. He's not really up for that. Normally you wouldn't touch a leader when you're fighting a fish, but this is like a minor fish and you just want to get rid of it. I already had the pleasure, you know, of the fish taking, so I just want to release him without hurting him. So, just gonna get him in, and if I can do this without touching the fish, it'll be the best. He's hooked really well. There we go. And the thing is, when they turn like this, just gonna turn him around. He's ready to go. Best way of doing that, absolutely. Oh, there was a fish there. Saw a Grilse just under the fly there. So they kind of like the presentation. And it's good just to give like just a half minute, just let the fish come down. Then he's ready to attack again. If you try to cast the fly immediately, you know, and he's not down, he can actually get spooked instead of interested. So I'm just giving it like a half a minute, and that way I can also dry the fly a little bit, so it's ready for the next cast. Now he should have time for it. So let's drop it over there. That was a little too high. I have some upstream wind, so it's not always easy to control the fly. So this fly is not going to go over, but I'm not going to pull it out of the pool. I'm going to wait till it has passed and then go back in again. That's a little too low, I think, that one. That's where I saw a fish. But with wind, you know, when you have wind, it's not always easy to control where the drop is. Oh, a fish came up under there. We'll try again. So opening up the loop. Let the fly come down. There it was. Ah, he didn't get that one. We'll try again. There's more bang in it. But you see, the thing is, like, just give them that little time just to calm down, and then you're ready to cast again. So I'm just drying the fly one more time. Just let the fish slow down. And then we're about ready. Now he should be back in his chair. We'll put it over again. Not too far over. I want to cast it a little further over, but it's better to cast it a little too short than too long. So you keep the line out of the pool at least. There he goes. Got him. Yeah. So it's all about the right presentation and doing the right thing all the time when you fish the dry fly. But this is still not the fish I want. I want a salmon. And many times you have to go through a few girls before you get a salmon. So I'll just keep him over here. Away from the stones, of course. It will be okay to lose him, so I'm playing him a little hard because I don't want this fish. So if he drops off, great. If he stays, I just have to pick him off. I guess I have to move in to get this fish out of the hook. Well hooked. He was not going anywhere. Nice little Grilse. Beautiful little Grilse. You ready to go again? Go out and get big. Come back again later. Life is not so bad, is it?
Any dry fly fisherman knows that in contrast to all other types of flies, the dry fly should be cast upstream and float downstream. That, at least, is what all experience dictates. But there are no rules without exceptions. It's actually possible to fish downstream with dry flies, as Henrik here demonstrates in the late evening hours.
So this is another way of playing the dry flies. You can't get them upstream. Try to do it downstream. Let it drift a little. And try to get the fly to move on the surface. Just like give it a little like splash sometimes. There we go. And that's efficient too. That's also a way of using the dry fly. Change the tactic. And with dry fly you have many, many options. So don't lock yourself down in one way of doing it. He can fall off anytime he likes. It'll probably be the fish of the day, the end of the day. Sort of thing. I'm just playing him a little hard and hope he'll fall off. You done? Not quite. I think we are. Now we're done. There we go. And you can go back out again. That'll be the last fish of the day. I think I want to break now. Picking a dry fly can be a very hard choice for many anglers. Also because there's so many different kind of patterns and sizes to pick between. If you look at dry flies, they come in the full color spectrum. But you can like divide them into like different groups. You can have like the lighter ones and you can have like the more colorful ones. I have friends that really believes in the colorful ones in the fall where the fish is more aggressive. Myself, I believe more in the more lighter ones. I think what really makes a difference is that you are changing between small and large flies when you're fishing. You can start with a small one, you can move up to a bigger one, you can move back to a smaller one, and you'll get different kind of reactions in that way. Something that might make a difference in your dry fly fishing is a hook. You really need to have a strong hook with a large gap, and if you can use a hook that has like a little offset, there's this one here, I think you have a larger chance to hook the salmon. But in picking the fly, I think what really matters is that you believe in the fly you picked in, because that makes you focus on the fishing. And there's nothing stronger than belief.
One thing is to choose the right size at the right time. Another is to choose the right fishing tactic once you've discovered where the salmon's resting.
Oops, there was a fish. There was a fish there. He was quite further down. I'll see if I can take him from this angle anyway. He's standing in a bad spot for me. I have some turbulent water down there. So I just have to see if I can reach him without having to go down there, go over there. Around there he should be. I'll try to move down just a little bit. Because you can't cast in this position downstream and still have a fly drifting. It's going to be really snapper if he takes it. So when you put a rock here, it's absolutely perfect for this. What I'm doing is like a reach cast where you kind of put the line up. Got him. Got him. Perfect. That was just a nice take there, actually. So you see, it works perfectly as a fish finder, this kind of technique. It's a good technique. And even if it's squills I'm getting now, you can get some really amazing big fish on it. Because there's many places actually the dry fly is way superior to any other technique due to you have the fly and the line on top of the water. I think it's a bit overlooked, particularly in the Scandinavian countries. In North America, dry flies has been used a lot. It's not a new thing here. Some minor fish coming up there. It came as a surprise. I was not expecting a fish there. Got him. Grilse. So he's in the bottom of the pool. I want to get him out. So it's good that you get the grilse in the bottom of the pool. Just pull him back out. Because I'm pretty sure there should be some salmon in here. This is a big pool, pretty deep. And I'm just picking the fish from the bottom and working my way up to it. And you want to get the small fish out pretty fast. I'm sure there should be some bigger fish in there. The reach cast is actually a really good cast when you're casting with a dry fly, where you kind of reach out to the pool and the fly drops down from the sky. And you get also a better drift on the fly because the line is coming with the same speed. And I would say reach cast is a thing that you have to learn as a dry fly fisherman. If you don't know how to reach cast, it can be pretty difficult actually to make nice presentations. Another function with the reach cast is actually straighten out the leader, because you actually put the back end of the line in the water before actually the leader comes in the water. So that means it's going to come down there and you have a straight leader. So that means you can give a strike as soon as the fish take the fly. It's very important not to have any kind of loose line from you and onto the fly, because you know when the salmon takes this fly, he's going to spit it as soon as he feel that this is wrong. That means when he gets in the mouth and he just gets under the surface, he's spitting. So it's an instant strike, otherwise you don't get them. So you got to keep your focus on the fly all the time and on the loose line, and you don't have any loose line laying on the water. Because then you loosen, and you won't set the hook. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That was a nice take. He just took it from the surface, really gentle. It's a pretty fresh guy, this one here. He totally just picked the fly from the surface. Throw him back in again. Get the grilse out. Got it. I don't want him up in the pool though. Well, that's too late. Sometimes they just choose to do whatever they want to do. Just keep him off the rock. Try to hold the rod up high so you can get off the rocks, because you really can get a high lift on them. And also when it comes to the cast, I mean, it's so much easier to present the fly really nice, particularly dry flies with a 10-foot rod, even an 11-foot, if there's any good ones out there. There we go. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. That's what I wanted. Just once I get rid of him, I can continue. wanted the fly, this one here. Oh. Quite aggressive. Oh. He must be hooked well, otherwise you can't pull the line like that under the water. He had some good runs here. He's not quite finished yet. Not quite finished yet. There's a fresh fish from the sea. So sometimes, you know, the dry fly is better at night when you have no sun in the pool. As now. See if I can trick him in here. On the water, I just need to tip him over. As soon as he's tipped over there. Ugh. He didn't think that was that funny. Quite strong fish. This is also on a class 7 line, 7 rod. They can throw a tremendous fight. Come on. Come on. Just need to turn him. There you go. There you go. As soon as he gets on the side, it's far harder for him to fight then. See, on the shallow water here, can't really, doesn't really have any bottom anymore to bang off in. Pwah. That's also a way of releasing a fish. Yeah, that happens. This is a nice salmon pool, and as you can see here we have a long tail coming into a very deep hole, and we have some backwater coming around here, and the backwater has a little mirror to it. That means when it hits the cliff here, and they have a very deep spot, I think there's about 10-12 meter deep there, and sometimes you can trick the fish up there with a dry fly. That's the best way to do that, because fishing a wet fly there is very difficult due to all the turbulent water. But dry flies is very efficient on this place here. It's on top of the surface. So let's give it a go. Sometimes you want to wait just a little, you know, see the water, how it boils up. So you want to wait until like a really big boil comes and it gets clear. When it gets clear, you want to put your fly down there, because it's easier for the fish because they're standing very deep. So it's easier for them to see the fly when it comes into. Oh, we got one there. We got a couple. Oh, he was close. He was close. Let's try that again. Seems like they want to come from the really deep spot out there. So that means they're rising for about 8 meters depth, coming up for the fly. They're going to jump up there. There's some pretty good. Let's try to see if we can get this guy to come up again. The best part is here really when you see the fish coming up. Yeah, got him. Oh, that's a nice fish. Very nice fish. That's an awesome fish, this one. Dry fly fishing on a line class 7 is definitely a sport. But this guy is far from over. Yeah. No. Got plenty of time. That's a strong fish, that one. He is really heavy. Now what I have to do is keep him out of the rocks here and not put too much pressure on him. We're still like, you know, fish like that is not over it. It takes a while before they're over it. They can play around for a while and think that they're done, but they're not. Just look at that. That was just 15 meters he went out. We have I'm standing on a cliff and it's about 20 meters below me. And I got him raised up probably from about 5, 6, 7 meters. He came up and took the fly. And the whole idea is just to take it easy. Not get too excited here. You don't want to lose him in the first handling. But then again, if you lose him, I already had the best part, which was actually getting the fish to take. What I'd like him to do is to drop back a little bit, because it'll be easy for me to take it and nail him down here. But right now I just want to keep the pressure up and not trying to twist him anywhere, because then he can get really excited and blow the leader. And standing on cliffs here can be pretty hard, pretty difficult. I'm just taking my good time. He's giving some power now. And see, this is pretty good position actually, because I'm just lifting him up and he wants to stay down. Just playing him slowly. Just getting him slowly. Just get my friend here to net this one for me, because there's no way you can land him here standing on a cliff. So it's all about just getting the fish to the guide and not him chasing it. Just trying to skate him in a little bit. There we go. That was a trick. That was a nice fish. Ha! René.
Hey, good man. Look at the size of the fish.
Yeah, that's nice.
Fly.
That's a good fish.
That's a good, very good fish.
Particularly on dry fly.
20, 15, 22 pounds of fish.
Yeah, he's heavy, isn't he? Yeah.
Fat. Hey,
That's fish. That was very good. Thanks, René. That's a very fat fish.
Big fat fish.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to work hard to get these on dry flies, but you know, it's definitely worth it. And I mean, the whole take and the whole thing, seeing them coming up from the deep water, is fantastic. I'm just going to release this fish now, and we left the hook in him because he's it's sitting well in. That means it might sit in a vein, so if I try to pull that out, it might kill the fish. So I'll just leave it there, and in a day or two, he's going to drop that hook anyway. It's going to fall out by itself. But that's a beautiful fish. Good, well, heavy fish. Really heavy. So he did a good job, and therefore he deserves to have his freedom again. So I need to support the fish here until he's ready to go. Awesome fish. That's the way you want to let them go. Right? Thanks, René.
So happy for you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
The last day of June. the snow still lying in scattered drifts in Gaspe National Park. The mountainous Gaspe Peninsula constitutes the easternmost part of Quebec province. It's almost as if the peninsula grows out of the Appalachian mountain range into the St. Lawrence Ocean Bay on the north and east side, and Baie de Chaleur on the south side. The Gaspe Peninsula is a sparsely populated area where nature is allowed to unfold freely without many restrictions now that the peninsula's forest and mining industries are in deep crisis. Gaspe is at nearly 40,000 square kilometers, or about 10% smaller than Denmark, but the population is a mere 73,000 compared with 5.5 million in Denmark. Quebec is as deserted as the peninsula. The province is 3 times larger than France, but the population is only 7.5 million. On the other hand, there's an incredibly rich fauna. You don't see many bears at this time of the year. Other animals are easier to spot. Not all animals are scared away by people. Here an aggressive beaver's flapping its tail to scare Henrik away. It's up here on the top of the peninsula that Gaspe's famous salmon rivers have their source. From this lake, Grand Cascapedia meanders some 120 kilometers south to its mouth in the Baie de Chaleur. It's hard to imagine that this tiny creek develops into a roaring river with North America's largest salmon stocks. In the spring, when the snow melts and after the heavy rain that hits the peninsula during the summer and autumn, the 3 large salmon rivers become foaming currents that rip and tear everything with them on their way to the sea. Large, tangled piles of tree trunks lie along the river shores, bearing witness to the potentially destructive forces of the rivers. Piled up trunks contribute to changing the current and accordingly the river bed. In addition, each year the water moves large amounts of gravel, pebbles and stones so that the course of the river changes constantly. Look at these gravel heaps in Grand Cascapedia. Last year they were on the opposite side of the river. The dramatic changes are an expression that the rivers live their own life and are allowed to do so. Here, heavy rain and sudden thaw have caused last year's pools to be filled with gravel while new pools have emerged. The changes are not important for the salmon and life in the rivers. Changed current and riverbed conditions simply mean that they find somewhere else to rest. But for the fly fishermen, it's a world of difference when a famous favorite pool suddenly goes completely dead. It means new challenges. The more the river changes from one year to the next, the more important it is to be able to read it and decode its messages about rocks and bottom conditions in order that the angler can work out where the salmon is. The choice of fly is also important, and as always, Henrik's focused on how the various types of flies perform under different currents and water conditions.
When I first started salmon fishing, I was actually quite confused when it came to flies. I think it was hard to find the flies which would be right for salmon fishing. I was looking in magazines, I was looking what came out there, I was looking at all kind of, let's say, films about salmon fishing. And I saw some of the flies they tied there, and they came up with things like this, huge flies, and they're very colorful. And in a way you kind of believe those flies were the right ones. Because, you know, a salmon is a big fish, it has a big mouth, so you need to use a big fly. But by the years I became wiser, and I found out that these flies is absolutely, completely useless. These is like pillow bags, and they're very hard to get to swim in the water, and they're very hard to get down. And when you fish these flies here, they seem very dead in the water. So this is not a fly I could recommend anyone today fishing with flies for salmon. I'll show you some of the flies I have and some of the experience I've picked up with flies. I fish a lot of salmon with tubes, and the tubes I have had a lot of success with is built on aluminum. And I think aluminum is actually probably the best kind of measure you can use for fly fishing, or particularly salmon fishing, because most of the time you fish in a pretty hard current, and you need to have a fly which comes down just a little bit. But also what I'm focusing on when I have a fly, I want to have a fly which actually has a good movement when I'm fishing it. So this is, I would say this is probably the fly I use the most. I mean, that's why I have a lot of them on me. And then I have another type which I use a lot also. It's also aluminum. It's a little longer, this one here, but I have them in different kind of colors. Then you can say, does color matter? Yeah, I think color matters in a way. I think it's very important to pick a fly which actually has the same colors as the surroundings you have. You can say, like in a place like this, where I have like a lot of green on the sides, that means this reflects into the water, so the water turns out to be green. You want to hide the fly as much as possible for the fish, and then suddenly the fish get exposed to it. So if you're picking like, say, this one for this area here, which is like a fly which has some black and some green, that means actually in a way, if I can get this very close to the bank on the other side and it comes out from the other side, then I can kind of camouflage it in towards, you know, the green behind me. And it can be very hard for the salmon to see it then. And when this comes out into the pool and it gets over the salmon, then suddenly it's on top of him, and then he sees the fly. So that means he doesn't see it there when you're looking up towards the green, but when it comes out here and it's exposed to the blue air on top of me, he sees it, and then he reacts to it. I mean, fish reacts with senses. They don't have a brain. They don't have time to sort out, is there a leader, is there a line there, what kind of hook is on. No, they react to what they see. And I want the flies to look like small fish, because that's what they're chasing when they're out in the sea. This can be all hypothetical, what you think, but I think it's very important that you put a fly on you believe in, because if you believe in the fly, you will focus so much more on your fishing and you'll be way more efficient. And this I believe in. Tube flies are by far my favorite fly, with no doubt. And you can also make those very small. But sometimes I actually need smaller flies. And therefore also I have like traditional flies. Flies like these. And this is like all double hooks. I think a double hook is a very good fly because it's very stable in the water. While a single hook, even if the single hook fish deeper, then the double hook is more like, you know, swimming over the water. It's not like wiggling the same way as a single hook is. And I like a fly more stable, so I can kind of decide if the fly should move or not, and how it should move. These I have in many different colors. And that's the same thing again. I would like to have a certain color to a certain purpose. And again also, I'd like to pick a fly which I really believe in that day. And that can be many different colors. But then again, you know, pick the fly that you believe in, then you'll also focus on your fishing. Besides using these kind of flies, I also have what we call like specialty flies. Because many times when you fish salmon, you need to like change your tactic, not your fly. Because you can see there's no point, there's no idea in changing from one color head to another one. I think if you need to change the fly or the tactic, you actually need to like move over to a total different fly type. And there's ways you can do that. One of the ways is actually using the hitch, which is a fly which goes on top of the water and it skates. Another one is like the dry fly, which is totally different. It's a rather big fly. Of course, you can get these in many sizes. But this is like an upstream fishing, this is like a downstream fishing, and they are on the top of the surface. Besides these two types, I also many times move down to minor flies. And by minor flies, I mean flies which is very small. And I have always some flies in my pocket, you know, for purposes where you have like very calm water, very clear conditions. And then I can move down to like a small Francis or a very small Snelda. And these flies are very good to provoke a fish. If you have been like over the pool many times with bigger flies and they don't react to it, then sometimes you go down to a very small one And these are built on tungsten, so they go down deep, and I can kind of wiggle them. You can kind of jig them over the bottom, close to the fish. And that can be very provoking to the fish. I also think it's important to try to change your tactic, try to do different things. You can imagine when you're fishing on a salmon river, sometimes when the salmon anglers go down, or actually I would say most salmon anglers does, they have the same tactic, using the same flies going down. That means the fish is seeing the same thing all the time. And I think it's very important that you change these things. Like someday you fish a dry fly, someday you fish a hitch, someday you fish a tube, someday you fish like a double fly, and you also fish it different ways. And I've been very successful doing that throughout my life. The last fly I want to show you is the Francis. Francis is a kind of a weird fly. It has a great impact on the pool when you fish with it. I also call this the last option, because when you fish with this in a pool, it's very hard to choose another fly afterwards, because the fish is kind of circling in the pool. I've fished with this on very clear pools, many places in the world. And I've first fished with like traditional flies and many different kind of techniques, and I couldn't get a fish out of it. And then I decided to use the Francis. All the fish was kind of stuck to the bottom. But when I was using this one here, and as soon as I got that in the pool, the fish start circling. What you try to do with this one here, actually you try to cast that so it comes into the pool and towards the fish, and then you try to pull it out in front of it. And when you do that, I don't know if you scare the fish or what you do, but what I have most of the time when I'm using this here is a very aggressive take from the fish. And they take this like a dog and shake it, and that's when I can hook them. But when you have fished this one here, I can almost assure you, if it's a small pool, you cannot fish another fish there after this. This is a bad option, but a good option if you're really desperate to get a fish.
Now we've seen Henrik's favourite flies, both dry and wet flies. He's argued his choices. Let's now see him demonstrate these choices in practice, along with his philosophy that a fly fisherman must constantly be open to changing his tactics and fishing style, if required or invited by the situation.
I just arrived to this pool here, and when I arrive to a pool, I always give myself good time to look at it and see how the run works. This is a very nice run, but still you got like 3 different kind of currents coming into it, and you can fish this different kind of ways. Normally most people would just jump in the top of this one and just fish a wet fly down here, and they'll probably just try to cover everything in the first go. What I'd like to do here is instead go below the pool and try to fish a dry fly up in the bottom of it. As soon as I've finished with the dry fly and I think that is not really working anymore, I will move on with a wet fly and try to cover the side of the pool first before I actually move into the main current and try to cover everything. So in this way you can fish a run in many different ways, and I think it's important you do like what I call the mental fishing first before you actually start fishing it. Because if you just jump in there, you might destroy many opportunities for yourself. Before I start fishing a dry fly, I want to extend my leader, because I want to have a leader which is about 12 foot is appropriate for dry fly fishing. Fishing dry flies, which is actually rather big flies, you can see the size here, can be pretty hard on a single hand rod. You'll never get like a beautiful tight loop coming out and a nice presentation. Well, a nice presentation you want to get though, but you're opening up your loop to get that. But you'll never really get like beautiful casting doing that, because it's a huge fly, and they were actually not meant to be casted on a single hand rod. They were more meant for double hand rods, which can carry bigger flies. But I'm using like a 7-weight line, a 12-foot leader, and a big fly. So that sometimes looks clumsy, but if you can get that straightened out and you can get a nice presentation on that, that is the best way to work the dry fly. When you enter the river and you want to get closer to the pool to put the dry fly out, you want to move very slow, because this water is very clear. But by moving very slow in the water and not splashing, you will be able to get quite close to the fish. And there's a pretty good chance that you can stand close to them and have a nice presentation. I didn't get it in mouse. See, what you want to do, you want to do those really presentations where you get the fly dropping out of the sky. So if you do the last cast high and the fly drops down, it gives them a good view on it. And they actually see the fly coming from way above, coming down on the surface. About here one reacted. Got him. That's a Grilse, so I'd like that guy to fall off. He could drop off pretty good. That could be the best. I guess I just have to step in and get rid of it. So I can move on and see if there's a salmon here. I just changed the fly for a couple of reasons. I think there's quite a few Grilse in here, and I don't want to catch the Grilse, I want to get the salmon. And I do believe there's a few salmon in here. So therefore, by moving up in size, I should get less Grilse. They wouldn't be attracted to the bigger fly, but you might attract the larger fish. Another reason is that I'm going to fish up deeper in the pool, up higher in the pool. And higher in the pool we got more like, you could say like more disturbed water in a way. And that also says that I have to apply that I have to use like a bigger fly, because by using the bigger fly it'll be more visible for the fish below on the bottom. I just remember the fish is looking up towards the surface and actually see the things coming, even if it's before it's on the surface, they can actually see it coming down. You can't do this technique when you come down, you just let it skate over the surface. Sometimes they're like that. You can't get a fish on that. So when you get it around, instead of lifting it in the pool, actually just let it skate over the pool. Got him. Got him. Got him. That was a better fish. That was a better fish. That was not a Grilse this time. The way he came around, that was beautiful. That's a nice salmon. That's a very nice salmon. He totally just turned around and came for the fly. Beautiful fish. That's the one I want to catch. So it helped to move up in size. He's gonna fly again soon. There we go. Kind of got that feeling when they want to fly. Where are we going? Fish like this makes me smile. I mean, that's when everything goes up to the total thing, the perfect package. Dry flying salmon. So normally I would wade into land immediately, but this time I'll just stay out a little bit so I can keep the lead off the rocks, because there's a lot of rocks in the bottom. And large salmon, they're very good at finding those. Extremely good at finding those. You got to keep some pressure on. Don't, just stand with like a tip, bend it just a little bit. You got to put a certain pressure on them, because otherwise you're going to stay here all night. And particularly with large fish, you should add pressure on them, but never hold the reel if they want to go out. Then keep your hands off the reel. And most of the time when I find salmon, I never have a break on the reel. I always control the line with my hands. So now we're at the time, where I need to break him, because otherwise we're going to stay here forever. So that means you're going to put some pressure on the fish at this time here. And that's always a critical time, because you can play a fish so long, you'll never get him in. So you need to, at a certain point, decide, I'm going to break him. There we go. As soon as I get him on the side, I got him. And you got him. I got him. Beautiful fish. This is what I call a salmon. That's the way they should look. And then on dry flies, doesn't get any better. I love this kind of fish. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So now we go for release. So I think we're ready to pull him back out again. So the thing is, you need to support these fish, these kind of sizes, because they need. He was fought hard. He was a hard fighter. He was not kidding around. Now I've shortened up my leader because I'm going to do the hitch. And when you do the hitch, you can't do it with a long leader. So I've shortened up the leader to about 8 feet. And that is necessary, otherwise the hitch will be dragged down by the current. The water is a bit rough here though, but I think the hitch can manage this. Yeah, I'll see it immediately as soon as I get the fly in the water. So there's like a good, strong current. I need to keep the hitch on top of the surface. It's durable here in the side of the pool, so I can try that. And with hitch you need to like get out a little bit so you have like a good angle, or a very small angle. So you can't cast across it, you kind of have to cast downstream, so I can cover like half of the pool, or half of the current with this method. This is different than the dry fly, but hitching is also like a dry fly technique, because you still keep the fly on top of the surface. But it's easier to keep the fly in the same spot with the hitch, or have it to come over slower in a strong current. And you do have a really strong current here. So therefore the hitch is better, because the dry fly, you can't really control it because the line is being dragged and by the current. That means also the fly is drowning, and then dry fly doesn't work if that happens. Got him. That was perfect. That was really good. That's a nice fish too. That was a nice take out there. I just have to remember this is a small fly and this is a good fish. So we're on a hook size 14, which is not very big. And this guy has not even showed his fight yet. He's probably gonna fly in a minute. Yeah. There we go. There we go. Nice fish. I knew he was going to fly. Hitch can be deadly, absolutely. Oh, whoop. I gotta get in because this guy's going down. And that's because I have the wrong angle on him. Now he's way into the backing. He wants to go to the sea again, this guy here. And the size 14 fly is a small fly, and he has about, well, a little over 70, 80 meters away from me. I gotta get behind him, so. Yeah, that was a tough one, this one. Took a little line. Went to the bottom of the pool. We were about 100 meters below me. So he's definitely a strong fish, fresh fish. I think most of the power is out of him now. It's just a matter of getting him turned. And just turn the guy. Just turn him. There we go. He's all mine. He's not going anywhere now. He's all mine now. Just need to turn him in here. They don't like to be turned over on the side. Strong, strong fish. Strong fish. There we go. There it is. I got him. I got him. Whew. That was a tough one. But small flies can be very, very efficient. Now it's time to fish the top of the pool. For that purpose I've chosen a double hand rod, 12 foot, a small wet fly and a 14-foot leader. And I think this would be a perfect setup to start with. I might move on to a bigger fly, maybe even a tube fly later on due to the heavy current up there. But to start with, this would be a perfect setup. So what I want to do, I want to start a little above the pool because in that way I catch the rhythm of the pool before I actually get into it. And it's much better to start above it and then fish your way into it instead of just starting in it and realize that you might have come too far down. There's like a good, strong current. What I want to do now is just extending the line bit by bit. So I get the distance of line I want to fish with. In this way I'm standing here, I can hold this fly down the channel. And that's exactly where the salmon would be. You can get the fly to fish very, very slow in the channel. Oh, good fish. Very, very good fish. Nice. Ugh. Nice jump. It's pretty crazy, this one here. Well, that means he's gonna run tired already. Run out of gas. There. That's a nice fish. It looks like pretty fresh too. So I was right about using a wet fly up there in the current. Oh, he's getting there. It's tough for him to have this pressure and being in the strong current at the same time. And this is a fresh fish. See if we can just get him in here slowly. Got like a little bay here. It will be perfect for him. Hard when you're backed up towards the bushes to land fish that size. And at the same time watch your leader here with your stones. So make sure you keep it up. There we go. Oh, stay in, stay in. Gotta tip him over again. Well, I just prefer him on the side. But there's not enough, I mean, it's not deep enough so I can get him to tip over there. I need to find a place where I can tip the fish. He is done though. I just can't get to him. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. I've got everything under control. I'm just going to cut the leader because the hook is actually in some veins. I can see it's bleeding a little bit. So the best would be just to cut and just leave the hook in there. It's a very small hook anyway. Actually, I'll just see if I can take it first. I might be able to do that. Maybe not. It was a strong take. Okay, I'll leave the hook there. The best would be just to cut the leader then. Beautiful fish. Fresh fish. Silver fish. Nice. Fresh salmon. And that's also why he fought so well, because he's fresh. He has been in here a little while. We're going to take this guy out. Going to put him out with some fresh water so he can buzz off. He fought really hard, so he needs to get out and be supported a little bit while he gets out. Put him over here. A little more fresh water. And just hold him a little bit. Bye-bye. That made my day. One on the top, one on dry fly, one on hitch. I would say this pool is done now. In my previous DVDs, I have shown a lot how to handle a spey rod, how to do a spey cast. And we have worked with the arms, how to grip the rod, how to use the lower hand when you do the cast. We also put in the motion of the body, like how you can lift with the body, bring the rod back, and then do a thing together with the arms at the same time. So you're both bending the rod by using the body and also the arms. And then you can say the spey cast is becoming complete. It is a motion where the rod is actually an extension of your body. You're bringing the line back and you're going forward. Bringing it up, doing a nice lift, adding the leader to the surface and going forward by the lower hand. When you got this complete, you're on the right track. There is a lot of alternative cast which is done in spey casting and spey fishing. And I've noticed quite a lot of them, and I don't find them very attractive, some of them. And you can say, like, particularly one where you take the rod and go with the clock around, and you bring the line down, and you rip the line off the water and go back out again. I think this is a very silly motion. Because you can see what you're doing is, you bring the rod up, and you snap the line, bring the line down, and you rip the line off, and you go back out again. In my world, it's not a very good cast. And you can see, like, if many anglers which don't like to stay on land when they're fishing, choose to stay out in the river, and then at the same time doing this motion here, bringing the line up, and then bringing it around like this, then they're making a lot of disturbance on the surface. You can see this nice pool suddenly become all wavy, and that is not very good. I don't think casts where you're actually bringing the rod up and bringing the rod down and dumping the line are very good. And you can see what you're doing actually. You're bringing it up, stopping the rod, you're dumping the line, you're going to bring the rod back up again, stop the rod, bring the line back, and going forward. So suddenly the spey cast is not a continuous motion anymore. The spey cast was, when we saw before, like you were coming back, just putting the lead on the water. And you can see when I do like a very ordinary spey cast, I come up and I bring it back and I set the lead on the water and then I go forward. One motion. When you're doing this, then you're stopping the rod, dumping the line, bringing it up, stopping again, and going forward. I've found an alternative to what we call like the rod that went with the clock around and dumped the line. And it's called the circle counterclockwise. That means I'm bringing up the rod so it goes this way around. It goes against the clock. I call it triple C. Then you can actually keep this continuous motion. You can see if you start down here and you lift up and then bring the rod around the clock like this, you're bringing the line up in the air. What I did before was just like a continuous motion in a normal spey cast, this, What I'm doing now, I'm circling it once and putting the leader down and going back out again. Is it useful? Yes, it is. Indeed. But you could say, like, if you are in a position where you got to angle a lot, like if I wanted to put my fly over there, I wanted my line and my fly in that direction. And by using the circle counterclockwise cast, I could bring the leader even further up behind me and then bring the line over there. I could also pick a line up from there, bring it back here and cast it out again. See, the whole trick here is you're always doing a circle counterclockwise. So that means every time you cast, you're bringing the top up and you're ready to do the forward cast. But if you're going the other way, you'll always dump the line, stop the rod, and have to bring it back up again. So try to work the other way. This is a good alternative for you, because you can use it both as, you can use it both with a floating line, like this, casting it out, and you can use it also with a sinking line. Particularly in sinking line fishing, it's really good.
From theory to practice. As we can see here, Henrik performs the triple C cast in a situation where he, with an intermediate line, makes a sharp angle to his cast. In this situation, it's necessary to present the fly in the right way.
Yeah, there's a salmon. And that is a salmon. The important thing is just to be easy, just take it easy. Because the fish is quite far down the stream and have a lot of line out now. And as I can't move down, I got to trick him out in the slack water next to me and get him back up here. But this is a good situation to be in. I have a fish on, can't expect much more. So I just have to give it good time now and just pull him up slowly. And as soon as the fish go, you just let the rod come forward, because if you kind of pull the same time as he jump, he's going to blow the leader. And I've tried that before, so you learn by mistakes. He's going to come. Yeah, you go. Again. 2 major jumps. And there you really have to take the pressure off the hook and the leader. Oh, I almost lost the contact with him. He's a jumper, for sure. Now he's in the slack water, so I got more control over him now. He has quite a lot of energy. What I really like him to is just to move up a little bit. Come up just a little bit. Can I get him to swim upstream? You do that just by not using too much pressure, just a little bit, so you kind of just lift him up. Lift him up with the current. Now it comes out in the slack water again. That's a nice fish. He's definitely a jumper, that's for sure. He's been out of the water like 5 times now. He's about getting there though. Let me start playing him. Just keep a good line to him when he's there, because I got the feeling that he's not quite done yet again. Can't be fooled here. Now we got that incredible stupid lock there. I don't like the salmon close to that lock. I gotta pull him a little bit now. And this time here, it's just a matter of getting here on the side. We're close now. I'd rather have him in the current because he was easier to pull up when he was in the current. Let's just back up a little bit. I can get him tricked in here. There we go. Then he's down on the side. And we got him. That's a nice fish. This is a salmon. For sure. Beautiful fish. Beautiful. Now this pool looks perfect right now, and you still have some shadow in it, and the sun is just about to hit it. So it's a good time to move in on it. And you gotta start doing that with very short cast, small fly, long leader, and just be very stealthy coming into the pool. No splashing. And always try to start a little above, so you kind of work your way into the pool and not just go right at it. So let's see what happens. There's not too much current here, so the fly has to be worked, particularly here in the top. And you want to get your lead out so it's straight. So you have a straight leader. So I prefer to cast with a little larger loop, because that gives nice presentations. Yeah, we got one there, right where he should be. Actually just in front of the stone in the shadows. And if you take them at the right time of the day, they're fairly aggressive there. Just gonna see what I want to do now. Seems to be a nice fish. Rocks like these are not so interesting. And there's a lot of rocks in this pool. Whoa. In shallow water, you know, they can be very hard to control. So you got those rocks. You definitely don't want to come too close to those. And it's important to kind of hold the rod up high here. To all the rocks in the bottom. We've got quite a big rock behind him. I don't want him to go in under that. Stay on this side of this rock. I really like to have this guy away from the rocks. Come on. I'm just getting away from this position up here, and it'll be easier to deal with. Here we're coming in. It's a beautiful big fish, this one. All fresh. All fresh fish. Really like to keep it out of the current now. Well, some you lose, some you win. Now this was almost done, and that fish was so close to land it. It was almost dry. So that's the game of a salmon fisherman. You just have to enjoy it.
Yet another lost salmon. Even though Henrik has tried it before and will undoubtedly experience it again, it's always a shame to lose a 10+ kilo fish. Sometimes it's the equipment that fails you. Sometimes you lose your foothold. Do you remember this situation?
That's also a way of releasing a fish.
Or this one?
Ah, there he went. Hell, I got the best anyway.
Or how about this one?
There we go.
As we've seen a few times, it may have rather nasty consequences if the fly fisherman trips or slips. The salmon is gone in a split second. But what happens if the cameraman loses his foothold?
There's a lot of stones in this pool here. Believe me, salmon know where the rocks are, and they want to go relatively close to them. So you really want to keep the rod up high. Kind of just control him around them.
Henrik Mortensen will be your instructor and fishing guide for the duration of this film. We'll be travelling widely from simple basic casting exercises for both single and double-handed rods to some of the world's best salmon rivers in Iceland.
Beautiful fish. What can you say, huh? Amazing, isn't it? Salmon fishing when it's best.
He's often been called one of the world's best fly casters and salmon fishermen. Henrik has a simple yet effective fishing philosophy. Rule number 1 is that your cast is not perfect until you're able to present the fly to the fish in the right way.
Oh!
The first point is to let the rod do the work while you use as little effort as possible. If you use your rod correctly, it will do the work. The less effort you put into each cast, the more hours you can fish. Pay attention to the hand grip and see how easily a large 14-foot rod can send off the fly in one long cast and a single coordinated movement. Raising the line is generally a neglected movement in the cast. Raising is the first movement. This is where you begin your cast.
Yeah, we got him. Line just on top of the neck.
In the forward cast, it becomes evident if your front stop is too late. That gives a large and open loop with lots of air resistance and little fall time, so avoid that.
Everything gets much more nice, much more smooth when you use the body at the same time. And you can angle the line out suddenly. There. Now we're going to try another technique. We tried the hitch and it seems like it doesn't work today, so what we want to do now, we want to try the Francis technique. This is a fly you cast upstream and get down, and then you actually raise the fly right in the face of the fish. And it is like this: either he takes the fly or he leaves the spot. It is in a way like raiding the pool, but it is efficient, and This is the last one I try always. You know, if I've been to a pool and tried everything else, then I want to try this one because I've had a lot of success with it. This fly's coming up. Now he's coming, he's coming, he's coming, he's got it. What we have to do now is keep the fish in the pool and get him tired there, and then we got about 1 chance or 2 chances to land him, and that's it. Because this is a long stretch, and if he gets down in the hard water there, it's over. Oh, maybe once again, and there he got it. Oh, he's really moving now. Moving big time. Oh, gee, what a jump. So the point is here, learn the basics and you'll be able to do so many things with this cast. So you can just play with it in the air, you can do anything, just matter that the leader is the one that's going to be on the surface. As long as the leader's on the surface, when you go forward, you'll have the tension on the rod and you'll be able to cast anywhere. And you can put in as many circles as you like, actually. Look at this one, for example. 2 circles, leader back in the water and out. Do it one more time. 2 circles, leader in the water and out. You can do whatever you like. Life is so much more fun as a salmon angler when you control all those casts. Always said an excellent trout fisherman is a fantastic salmon fisherman. There, I got it. I got him. That's an awesome salmon. In my 4th DVD, the theme is going to be the Scandinavian Spey cast.
The whole essence of learning the Scandinavian casting style is exactly to be able to fish down along the riverbank in the way that Henrik is doing it in this pool.
Oh, gotcha! And in this way here, I actually put a lot of tightness into the rod. I actually loaded quite deeper. The Spey cast worked in a different way because there they put the line and the leader behind them. And this way here, they could actually go across on the current and put the line out. My experience tells me that the salmon will be on the inside of the curve. And that's because you have the deep part there. The Scandinavian way is different. We kind of use the left hand to cast with instead.
Back to Scotland again.
So we're now going to have a look at the double Spey cast. And again, this is on the wrong shoulder, if you like.
You can generate a lot of power into your cast by actually moving the body back and forth. I don't know where the fish is located in it, so I have to figure that out. There we go. And you have a strong current here, so if I cast it very much across on the spot I wanted to fish, the fly will come way too fast. The first fly I fished very slow over the pool. This one I want to speed up a little bit so it comes fast over the pool. Oh, not under the wood. Not under the wood, baby. Come on back. I've decided on a very light intermediate tip. There. Oh, nice fish.
What could be more simpler than that?
Beautiful fish. This, my 3rd DVD, is going to contain fishing strategy. It's going to contain how to fish a hitch, and I'm going to go really deep into it. There it goes. Easy. And you can do that when you stay away from the bank. You can actually take men like this. Here I'm mending downstream a little bit. That's because I want the fly to sink. When you use a hitch fly, you actually have the leader coming in the side of the tube. And this way you actually drag the tube on top of the water. Got him! What I'll do first is fish the lower part here, from the stone and down, so I don't ruin this part up there. Oh! Oh! twice, 3 times. So what you don't want to do up here is actually show your fins. Your fins is the hands. Then you have the more average size here, which is the one you can use like more all-rounded. You can use it on calm water, you could use it into more turbulent water. When you go to a pool like this, I always start with the first option as a hitch fly. That's the first option I do. And then I move on with 2 other options afterwards, which I'll explain to you later. Ah, he got it. Yeah. Nice take. Oh, got it. One of the lifts I did was taking it towards my left shoulder, punching it out, pulling it back, putting the leader down, and then shooting across. This way you can have a lot of loops hanging inside each other. This way you have 2 loops hanging down. Yeah, got it. I'm gonna use a nymph for this one, a very small nymph. Oh, beautiful jump. Here we have a very big pool, which is very good for dry fly fishing. We have a calm service. It's always very exciting to fish at night. Because you know the strike comes just like a lightning. Got it. Even small flies give big fish. Yeah, got it. Worked. You can actually just move the whole concept of casting over to your left side. Oh, you got it. You don't have to fight the wind. The wind is actually helping you here. Go around, put the rod up vertical, and pull it out like this. This way, the loop comes straight out. This is an 18-pounder fish. Really deep, really heavy.